Hi, this is Jaya. Now we shall see the second part of the summary of The Wreck of the Duchess Land by G. M. Hopkins. I'll continue from the previous video, and for those who have not seen the previous video, I'm going to give the link in the description box. So if you go to the link, you can see the previous video's link. Now we shall continue, and this is from the 6th stanza. Not out of his bliss springs the stress felt, nor first from heaven, and few know this. Swings the stroke dealt, stroke and a stress that stars and storms deliver. That guilt is hushed by, hearts are flushed by and melt. But it rides time like riding a river, and here the faithful waver, the faithless fable and miss. So if you notice here, you will understand that Hopkins is talking about the shipwreck, and he's saying it is definitely not because of God's blessing that this stress has happened, and this is not the first time that God is giving such a cruel punishment. And few know this, he says. That is, those who have read the Bible and who have read the past events will know that. Swings the stroke dealt. And he says that this stroke and stress that stars and storms deliver. So God has punished the people this time through a storm, and the guilt is hushed by, that is, they are silent. All those who have done sin have punished, and the hearts are flushed by and melt. And all those who are hearing this or undergoing this, their heart is flushed by and they are melting. But it rides time like riding a river, but things are happening. That is, he says that it is not out of God's heavenly happiness that a stress was created. And this is not the first time that God is punishing people like this. And he says this time God has used the stars and storms to deliver this punishment, that is the stroke and the stress. And it is happening like how a river will flow without any intervention. Time is also just passing away silently as the guilty men, those who have committed sin, are silenced, that is, they are dead, and melts the hearts as it flushes the good and the bad. So when the punishment is met out by the 200 passengers, even the good are suffering along with the bad. This is what he is saying in this stanza. And in the next stanza he says, it dates from day of his going in Galilee, warm laid grave of a womb life grave. Manger, maiden's knee, the dense and the driven passion and frightful sweat. Thence the discharge of it, there its swelling to be. Though felt before, though in high flood yet, what none would have known of it, only the heart being hard at bay. So he says, all this is happening from the day that he went to Galilee, that is when Christ was crucified. And he says God also underwent suffering, so men cannot say that only they are suffering. And it was God who bore our sins when he was crucified on the cross. And he says that we should never forget this sacrifice, because God gave a new life to the sinners by taking all their sins on himself. And he says Christ was born to Virgin Mary, and he suffered a lot in the later part of his life, and he shed a lot of blood for us. We should understand that. And much information of God is available in the Old Testament, which we have to read to understand the deeds of God. And he says that we should celebrate the day of crucifixion as a festival, because it was the day when God cleared us from all our sins. We'll go to the next stanza. Here he says, is out with it, oh, we lash with the best or worst word last. How a lush kept, plush capped slow, will mouth to flesh burst, gush, flush the man, the being with it, sorrow sweet, brim in a flash full, hither then, last or first. To hero of cavalry, Christ's feet, never ask if meaning it, want of it, men go. So here he says, the how when a ripe plum, when we bite it, the juice oozes out. Christ's blood also spread throughout the world when he was crucified, and he cleaned the whole universe and removed the sins from the world. And Christ's followers followed him wherever he went and supported him in all his actions, because they sincerely believed that Christ was their Lord, and so he will only do good to them and will never harm them. And see how he says beautifully. He says, never ask if meaning it, wanting it, want of it. That is, they never questioned him. Men just went behind him. Men here, he meant the followers of Christ. And here we'll go to the next stanza. Be adored among men, God, three-numbered form. Ring thy rebel, dogged in den, man's malice, with wrecking and storm. Beyond saying sweet, past telling of tongue. Thou art lightning and love, I found it a winter and warm. Father and founder of heart, thou hast wrung. Hast thy dark descending and most art merciful then. So he says God is adored by men, but he will punish our malice with wreck and storm. And he says God's presence can be felt in this particular instance through lightning. And generally we know that he is taking good care of us, and we can know his love in winter and in warm. He is our father and the founder of our heart. The poet then wonders why such a kind heart is so merciless now. And in the next stanza he says, with an anvil dig, and with fire in him forge thy will, or rather than stealing as spring. Through him melt him, but master him still, whether at once at a crash ball, or as Austin, a lingering out sweet skill. Make mercy in all of us, out of us all, mastery, but be adored, King. Here he says, the blacksmith, he will use fire and he'll hammer the iron so that he will get the shape of what he wants. So the iron will become a useful material after it is passed through the fire and being hammered. When it bears the hammers, when it bears the stroke of the hammers from the blacksmith, it will become a useful material. In the same way, God will give a lot of suffering to man, and it is only to guide him to a good path. So God's punishment will be always gentle. For this, the poet gives two examples. He gives the examples of St. Paul and St. Augustine, and then the poet asks God to protect all those who worship him. Now we will go to the second part of the poem. Here he says, some find me a sword, some the flange and the rail, flame, flank or flood, goes death on drum, and storms bugle his fame. But we'll dream we are rooted in earth dust. Flesh falls within sight of us, we, though our flower the same, weigh with the meadow, forget that they must, the sore scythe cringe and the blare share come. Here he says, death can come to us in any way. It can come through swords, that is in a war we may die, fire, water, snakes poison, etc. Definitely death will come to all human beings. Some may have a good death and some may not have a good death. All this depends on their good and evil deeds. In the next para he says, on Saturday sailed from Bremen, American outward bound, take settler and seamen, tell men with women. 200 souls in the round, O Father, not under thy feathers, nor ever as guessing the goal was a shoal of a fourth, the doom to be drowned. Yet did the dark side of the bay of thy blessing not vault them, the million of rounds of thy mercy, not reeve even them in. He says that it was a Saturday in the month of December. This ship started from Bremen in Germany to America. They had 200 passengers on board, and none of them knew that God's grace was not on them, for they did not know that the ship was going to sink. They all worshipped God, even then God has punished them. And then in the next stanza, into the snows she weeps, hurling the haven behind, the Duchess land on Sunday, and so the sky keeps, for the infinite air is unkind, and the sea flint flake black packed in the regular blow, sitting east in cursed quarter, the wind whirly and white fury and whirly wind, swelled snow spins to the widow making unchilding, unfathering deeps. Here the poet feels that there must be some reason behind the punishment, and he says that it was winter and there was snowfall, wild wind was blowing from east and northeast, and the ship starts shaking to and fro and crashes on many rocks. All the passengers, young and old, are now frightened. Now we'll go to the next stanza. She drove in the dark to leeward. Here she means the ship. She struck not a reef or a rock, but the combs of a smoother of sand. Night drew her death to the Kentish knock, and she bet the bank down with her bows and the ride of a kneel. The breakers rolled on her beam with ruinous shock, and canvas and compass, the whirl and the wheel, idle for ever to waft her or wind her with, these she endured. So here he is telling how the ship was, like he's saying it was dark everywhere, and as she was traveling, because of the wild wind and the storm, she got stuck. She did not get stuck on a reef or a rock, but she got stuck in a sand, and night started becoming darker and darker, and she was bit by the sea water on all the sides, and her bows were not able to work, and even the brakes all started rolling off with ruinous shock. The canvas, the compass, the wheel, they were all idle, they were not able to function, and they were not able to make her to endure. So here he says, it was dark and the ship was near the mouth of river Thames, and there it dashes not on a reef or a rock, but on the sand bank. Sea water enters into the ship. They are not able to sail further because the wheel of the ship is stuck. So not able to turn the wheel to navigate the ship. And all the passengers now they start praying. Hope had grown grey hairs. Hope had mourning on, trenched with tears, carved with cares. Hope was 12 hours gone, and frightful a nightfall folded, rueful a day. Nor rescue, only rocket and lightships shone, and lives at last were washing away. To the shrouds they shook in the hurling and horrible haze. Now the passengers they stopped praying because they have lost hope, and they all started crying because they saw people dying around them. Many are dead, and some tried to escape by jumping into the sea. 12 hours passes like this, and no one comes to the rescue. So this part I'll stop here. I'm reminding you once again, if you have not seen the previous part, I'll give the link in the description. Please go to that also and see. And the remaining part I'll give you in my next video. Please like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. Thank you.